Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. An absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you about this wonderful, wonderful film, Lullaby. Maybe you could just start by introducing it a bit for people who don't know anything about it. Tell us a bit about the story and your character.
So Lullaby is a story about two different generations of mothers, kind of two different generations of families, right? And they are just trying to figure out how to connect in the right way for their needs when a newborn is welcomed and when your parents get old and maybe get sick. At the end of the day, it's a movie about a family, and I think it's really easy to relate to it. Maybe we don't have kids, all of us, but we all have parents. So one way or the other, you will connect with the story.
And what was the appeal about being involved with the project? Was it the script? I heard you were saying yesterday that almost kind of by coincidence, you also had a child very recently, which must have made a huge impact and been able to bring so much authenticity to this role.
Totally. It's funny because I got the offer when I was 3 months pregnant. Right away, it was something I was interested in because I had this feeling that this project would be special for me because of my vital moment. It's funny because I got my baby, and a year later, when she was 1 year old, I started shooting. And the story is about the woman who just gave birth, and it's the first year of this first-time mom experience in life, right? So it's like as if the director has said to me, you know, it would be great if you could get pregnant, have a kid, spend your first year with your kid, and then you come back and then you just like share all those inputs with the movie. It was really nice. But I also learned that there are so many motherhoods, like as many as women we are, you know, and that was really interesting to let go a lot of stuff. And especially because it's not my story, it has nothing to do with my real story. I learned that we each try to do our best in our way, and that's enough.
Because I also had a baby 18 months ago, so I was just saying
I've heard. Congratulations.
How much do you think you put your real experience into the character, and how much did you feel like, actually, no, I'm now acting in the sense that this story is quite different from mine? Where did you feel those lines?
The story is totally different from mine. There are connections, of course, like some connected points. It's funny because when I read the script when I was 3 months pregnant, I got it. Then later, when I read it after my first year as a first-time mom, then I realized I didn't get it before. Because just there are some scenes where, I don't know, you might not know exactly what's going on with Amaya, my character. And after this first postpartum year, I was like, I got this. This is just hormones, you know? This is just postpartum biological shit going on. You don't know that until you go through it. And it's really hard to explain about it until you go through it. That's why I love the movie so much, because it depicts like a very special and honest situation of motherhood. This is just the starting point of the movie. It's not the movie, but it's a very honest one and raw one, and I was very proud to be part of it in that way. The narrative is totally different. Like I guess the struggles are common for everyone, but then it just allowed the story 100%.
And what was it like working on the set with Laura and with Susie? They were sort of mentioning earlier that you almost created your own kind of family on set, particularly because you also had the babies that you were acting with, and that really comes across on the screen. That there's just so much authenticity to your relationship.
Yes, definitely. I mean, when you work with babies, like we had 2 newborns, they were just 20 days old, and then we had 2 3 months old and one 12 year old. They are not actors. They're real human beings, just being themselves, right? You need to be in another way with them. You need to be in another mindset where maybe the baby's crying and you're holding him for 6 hours and you cannot concentrate on what you actually need to do on that scene, right? You have to play with that. You have to go along with that. I think that's something that was really good for me, that I was already a mom, because I knew how to calm them and how to try to manage them. Anyways, you know, sometimes you cannot cope with it. It's just like very difficult. I think the movie gets that sense of reality where there's a real baby on screen. And at some point the baby well, at some point all the time, baby does real stuff, and you have to play with that. You have to improvise with that and get that little bit into the scene, however you can do it. But then sometimes if it works like magically. It's really special when these kind of things happen on set with real babies. And it was really challenging, but at the same time, I think it comes across the screen. It makes the movie special for that reason. First time I had a coffee with Laia, I said to her, we cannot do it with fake babies, like dolls. You cannot do this movie with, you need real babies. And I know it's, production-wise, it's complicated, but it would be a totally different movie if you just play with dolls. No fake babies were involved in the movie, like they were real babies, and it was kind of like a family because their families were there on set as well. The mamas and the papas were there with us, and we were taking care of them, in the right way, and then it felt like we need to be a family for this family to be real, and it was like a big warm family. It was really nice, actually.
And one of the most interesting relationships is, of course, between your character and her mother. We were saying earlier that in some ways it kind of represents the stereotypes in terms of there's lots of things of like the different generations of approaches to parenting and being a mother and expectations of how you're supposed to keep the home and do the cooking and do that. But then within that, there's lots of tensions and conflicts and lots of things that kind of go against the stereotypes. So how did you see that relationship, and how do you think that was interesting?
I think that's really interesting because, well, relationship with our parents are, even the best ones, they have like, I have this feeling that you behave in a way just because the way of you were brought up to, right? And then it's, in this case for Amaya, she really takes care of herself for the first time. Like, she really tries to get it together, not when she becomes a first-time mom, but when her own mom gets sick. I think this is like a very low point for her where she really needs to stop complaining, just be there, real present. And she needs to surrender in a way that it's very painful to watch, but there's no plan B. About this kind of generation stuff that you were talking about, I think it's, I wouldn't say it's stereotype because it's still happening in so many homes in Spain, right? And of course the context is different. Like, I have more choices than my mom. In case of Amaya, it's the same. She has all this like international life waiting for her, right? Like her job, her friends, that keeps popping into the narrative all the time while she's just in this domestic set all the time. But at the end of the day, she still needs to take care of the baby and the mother, and the care still is on her shoulders. That has not changed that much, right? But still we have the conversation, like, how should this be better? When you don't have like the money to get people to help you out with that, right? And it's happening to so many women and men in so many houses, right? I think it's really interesting also the male characters, how they are super different the same way. You can see it's like different generations, right? How one is like not there at all, and the other one is not there but because of a lot of social issues like work, and he tries, but at least he tries, but still we need, like, I have this feeling that we need to support parenthood, and the society needs to support it in order for these inequalities to stop happening longer, So that's interesting because you have like the old marriage and then this young couple, and you can see they're not the same at all, but you can still see like the struggles and the problems and how they relate to each other. And I have this feeling that it's this kind of movie where you think it's simple stuff, but the whole scene goes underneath what they're saying, and then there are a lot of layers in between that.
Why do you think it's important to kind of show in such detail and so nuanced kind of women's experiences? And I was thinking also of your other film, Only Us, which is a completely different side of the coin, not being able to get pregnant and all the pressures that involves. But what is so refreshing and so important about people being represented in such a kind of authentic way?
I think that talks about the movie itself, like the approach of the movie. It's a movie that needs to feel real, and the intimacies, the emotional intimacy is real, and the emotional struggles are real, and I think that is important. Like last night in the premiere, they were in the Q&R, which was like really long and really beautiful. They were talking about social media, right? And the way we depict motherhood and parenthood. in general. We need some other stuff to balance that perfect world about, and that movie shows that. But the way it's filmed and the way it's portrayed, it's like real, like raw, like no bullshit. You know, that's very hard to do in a movie. Like you can try to do it and not get it, but when it comes across like that, I think audience is just connected to the story no matter what. The best thing they've said to us, it's when I finish the movie starts growing, and when you finish the movie, you kind of like want to know what's going on with them, with these characters in the next weeks. You know, and that's really the special thing about it.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of the time here in Berlin, and of course for the life of the rest of this film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.